Several years ago, one of my students burned me a CD of that old blues guitarist T-Bone Walker. A CD, for those of you who don't know, is like a little round silver disc that we used to listen to music on. You know, we popped it into this thing we called the CD player. I popped it into my car stereo on the drive home from the studio, and the very first lick for the intro guitar solo from the very first song was this. The song was called Papa Ain't Salty, and immediately my ears perked up because I'd been teaching that lick to my guitar students for years, you know, to get their creative juices flowing while learning how to improvise guitar solos. Now, I kid you not that as I was listening to that guitar solo, I felt like I was hearing the primordial beginnings of what would become rock and roll lead guitar, like the most fundamental concepts that were used by great players such as Hendrix, Page, Gilmour, Stevie Ray Vaughan. They were all present in this short little 25-second solo. My name is Anthony Parker. This is the Near Life Experience. I want you to go grab your guitar right now because today I'm going to go over the intro guitar solo from Papa Ain't Salty by T-Bone Walker. And I'm going to break it down so you can better absorb these vital soloing concepts. Before we dig in, I want to remind you that you can support this channel by popping over to anthonyparkerexp.com and checking out the official shop where you can get merch such as the Rock Heroes Guitar Instruction Book, shirts, guitar picks, and a whole lot more. Now let's get to that solo, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about exactly what he is doing. This solo is in the G minor and G major pentatonic scale, as well as the G minor blues scale. He uses all of those concepts. First, the G minor pentatonic scale, the G major pentatonic scale, and now the G minor blues scale. You'd be well suited to learn all three of those. So here's the first lick. I call it the diving board lick because it is a great way to launch you into the world of guitar soloing. You can start with that lick and put all sorts of things after it, but more on that later. The second one is your first taste of an extended phrase where he starts with the lick we just had, but goes a little bit farther. Now, this concept that he uses is super important in soloing. He starts by throwing out a tiny little idea, and then he expands on that idea. And then he does this little bit. So once again, he gives you a little lick, and then he expands on it and turns it into a larger phrase. The lick, and then he does that again. It's all built around really cool little ideas right there. And then, of course, the next one is the super long granddaddy of this whole solo. So this is where he's using the minor pentatonic, the major pentatonic, and the blues pentatonic all in one phrase. So we start with that same sort of lick that we've been hearing again and again. But this is where he goes into the major pentatonic. And then he does a run which uses notes from the major and the minor pentatonic. Minor pentatonic, major pentatonic. Put them together. That's all the minor pentatonic. But then here's where he gets into the blues scale. And then he goes into the last little bit. Now, the last phrase you got to break up into a few different parts. The first part goes like this. And then he bridges it into the last part of the phrase where once again he goes back and forth between the major and minor pentatonic scale, like this. So whenever he goes to this note right here, he's gone into the major pentatonic scale, because that is essentially the third of the G major chord. Then this note is more part of the minor pentatonic scale. Now what I teased at the beginning, which is something you need to be doing with every lick you learn, and that is tweaking it, coming up with different variations. So let's start with this first long lick. That's how it goes. Now let's tweak it a little. What about that next little bit? That's a great little phrase to play around with. All these little things you can do with that simple idea. You could take it to another string. You see, you can do so many different things just by learning one little lick really well. It can lead you in all sorts of directions. All right, let's take that long lick and let's see if I can do something with that. So I could go on and on and on, but I think you get the point. Take every lick and phrase that you learned from this guitar solo, separate them, tweak them, and improvise over the backing track, which you can get on my website, to expand your own soloing ability. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on all notifications.